To episode 6 of Shan Subs. Did you miss me? I hope you did. I said I wanted to give myself a bit of a break, but also I was like to myself, it's October, it's Halloween season. If we didn't talk about any movies or any other shows in this time, then that are horror themed, I would feel bad. Like, I'd be like, horror is like Halloween slash like horror. Like, it's like horror is actually not one of my favorite genres, actually, because I get quite like scared of those type of films slash dramas. But I do like a good psychological. Do you know what I mean? I like a good psychological where you can dissect it. That's kind of my thing. But I thought to myself, Halloween's a good time. Halloween's a good old time. I thought to myself, yeah, let's talk about something Halloween themed, something horrific. And then I thought, why not talk about Junji Uzumaki, right? It dropped on like this weekend. It dropped. Today's for the 3rd, and it dropped on last week. It dropped on last week's like Sunday. It dropped on like last week's Sunday or so, or some kind of day like that. So I think it was episode 1, and I think they have more episodes to follow. What I will say about Uzumaki, because obviously I don't want to spoil too much, because that's the thing. Even though actually after this, when this podcast episode drops, obviously it would have been a long time that it would have been out for, but like obviously, but I still feel like I don't want to say too much, because there could be people here who are Junji Ito fans, and I'm like, why would we spoil it for them? But basically, Uzumaki is about spirals practically, and it's about a town that just gets a village that just gets like practically haunted by spirals, because it's like there's spirals in the sky, spirals in the sea, and then there's spirals like coming through and affecting people's lives pretty much. Uzumaki, for me, Uzumaki so much captured me, like, because now I feel like I want to cosplay one of the characters from the anime, because I feel like it was such a good watch, and I just love Junji Ito's artwork as a whole, which is why that's why I decided to watch it, because like I think people were saying, oh, they like to obviously read Junji Ito's mangas versus to watch them in a physical media way, so, and obviously not in a TV way, but more of a copy, more of an open book kind of thing, which is true. Like see, there we go. I keep thinking about watching, but no, when I read Black Paradox, I was like, yeah, like definitely the way Junji Ito's like his stuff surely is best done in the manga, because it's like when you see it on paper and you see this like one of his probably scary graphic ones, like it just pops out at you kind of thing. So that's probably the main appeal to it. That's what I can see that and I can understand it. But then for me, it's just like even seeing it visually is great, because that even makes me think about Uzumaki as a whole, because it's like, even I'll say for one thing, like the guy with the tongue, right, who does the long tongue bit, and then seeing that like on the screen was crazy, because I'd seen that panel before. I'd seen that manga panel before, and I was like, wow, like that's crazy. It looks really, really scary. But like, yeah, and I think there was also, so obviously I think they've done this Uzumaki, and then there was also this one that they did on Netflix, which was Junji Ito's thing. It was Japanese stories, and I think like it was obviously it has episodes on Netflix, right? And I think it's like 6 or so. I'm gonna check that. Yes, it was actually 12. I think, did I say 6? But yeah, it was 12. So 12 episodes, and it's kind of like it has what's it called? Yeah, The Strange Siblings, The Story of the Mysterious Tunnel, Ice Cream Bus, Hanging Balloon, Four Walls, The Sandman's Lair, Intruder, Long Hair in the Attic, Mold, Library Vision, Toontown, Layers of Terror, The Thing That Drifted Ashore, Tomi, Photo, and then Unendurable Lambeth, The Bully, Ali, Headless Statue, and Whispering Woman, Shochi's beloved pet. It would be interesting It would be interesting, sorry, if they also did one that was about Black Paradox as well, because obviously I don't think they have done a Black Paradox one, but when I read that as a manga, I was like, obviously I'd want to see this visually, and I think for me as somebody who like is only newly into reading mangas, because obviously people always say, some people always prefer, like people who are anime watchers or into anime, people will usually say they like to watch anime or they either like to read it, and then it's just type of thing where it's either your boat or it's not. Like you either like it or you don't, and it's just kind of thing where even though I'm newly into manga, I obviously still am an avid anime watcher, and I'll choose watching an anime versus reading it. And I guess it's just my thing, and I think it's what you choose to do going into anime. And I think maybe, yeah, if it's like if you've started reading mangas, then you're gonna want to be an avid manga reader. And if you've watched those animes in the past and you obviously just like watching animes, and you're gonna just be somebody who's an anime watcher rather than a manga reader. And that's the thing, it's hard because I'm both, and I'm like to myself, how do I even navigate that? I mean I guess it's like for me, but I guess I don't read much. I don't read the mainstream mangas, actually, to be honest, because I think the mangas that I've read so far is what's it called? Isadora, and also Anonymous Noise, and both of those mangas aren't even similar to each other at all. And then, like, obviously, yeah, as I said, they're not mainstream, and also they're not even, what's the word, they're not even on. That's another thing. Like, it's like a kind of thing where it's like if you read manga that's actually like on and ongoing, it's like it can be hard to dodge spoilers and that. And it's like it's similar of how if you're watching a show, then it's like, and then other people are also watching it, then you have to dodge spoilers. And it's just like, I guess for me, when I think about it, I'm like, would I rather not like have to do that? Like, would I rather not want to just like have that included? Yeah, but yeah, would I rather not want to like have to navigate that, because I guess it would just cause me a problem. But anyways, more so back on track, back to Uzumaki. I think my favorite thing about Uzumaki, yeah, was about the girl with the spiral, for sure. And I think I also obviously just like Uzumaki because I've always been obsessed with spirals myself. Like, people say that spirals are obviously to do with they say it's something, I can search it up actually. Yeah, so obviously it says like spirals can represent the cycles of life, seasons, and time. Spirals can represent the idea of transformation, life and death. Spirals are creative and have a feminine feel due to their curved nature. Like, so many different things. Like, you can search spirals on Google, and it obviously shows you so many different things. Because I think the headings here that I'm looking at on Google right now is growth and evolution, transformation, creativity, time, the sun, summer and winter, eternity, healing, life cycles. And then obviously the main definition it says here is that it represents the cycle of life, birth, growth, death, and reincarnation. Spirituality, the spiral represents a connectivity with the divine, spiraling from the outer ego, the outside world, into the inner soul, cosmic awareness, and enlightenment. The spiral represents evolution and the growth of the spirit. And when I look at that definition, I'm like, that's actually quite crazy, because obviously in Uzumaki, it's like the main character, the guy, right, his dad dies, and he obviously turns himself into a spiral because he gets that enamored with spirals. And so it's really interesting that, like, obviously that's what the definition is of like the spirals. Like, the spiral represents evolution and growth of the spirit, and it's like, does he turn himself into a spiral for that meaning there, that he wants to grow his spirit, and then even in the afterlife. And then obviously, I guess what even more deeper, I guess, about Uzumaki is then after the dad dies, then it's like he's in the sky, and when he was in the sky, actually, it reminded me mainly though of Voldemort. It reminded me when Voldemort used to be in the sky in Harry Potter, and that was my main thing. I was thinking that's so hilarious, because obviously the mum was like, look, your father's up there, he's in the sky. And I was like, that's really, really funny. Like, it was just reminded me of Voldemort, and I was like, how is it that the dad is dead? Yeah, and he's in the sky, and then that just makes you think that, like, him turning himself into a spiral did, like, yeah, he could have so much power that he was able to be in the sky, and he was able to just, like, affect the whole entire town and put it into chaos practically. Excuse me, pardon. It was crazy. And then I think also, yeah, I found the whole thing just really interesting. Like, I guess, yeah, with the main guy, and then obviously he has his girlfriend, and he has the girl who has a spiral, and then also, oh my gosh, yeah, the kid who obviously also had a spiral on his back. That, I guess, for me, actually, that scene was probably the saddest, because obviously it's like he had a spiral on his back, so he obviously was affected by the spiral, and then obviously people were also bullying him as well. And then it was like, and I remember, oh yeah, in Uzumaki, then they unclothe him, and then that's the only reason why they see he has a spiral on his back. But it was crazy. They unclothed him, and they had him naked in front of everybody, and I was like, wow, like, that's when, like, bullying is to its extreme, because it's not even like people really, like, then bullying happens like that severe. Like, I meant even now, I meant like that, just, yeah, it wouldn't really happen. And it was just that I was just like, wow. I was like, obviously that's why they put that in Uzumaki, just to show us that he had a spiral on his back, and that was the main thing. But it was just like, and then I think maybe they also hinting at bullying as a general theme. They're probably highlighting it as well. But no, I would say, yeah, to defo watch Uzumaki. Like, I would. Like, I mean, I think to myself that Uzumaki, like, is a thing where, yeah, the artwork is great. That is literally, obviously, like I've said earlier in this whole, like, episode, like, it's just like, that's the appeal of Junji's work, and that's why I always think that about myself, because I was, like, always thinking to myself, oh, I don't really like horror, it doesn't appeal to me because it's quite scary, which it is. I strongly still believe that, actually, because I'm someone who, like, of course I like Halloween and I like horror and that, but I just sometimes find it hard to even watch horror films because they scare me quite a lot. But then I also know that I'm someone who's fortunate enough to not get nightmares, so it's the kind of thing where I'm just like, I can watch them, it's just like, it's like, you might as well, because it's just to say I don't get nightmares, so it's not going to affect me in the long run. But it's just like, I'm still just like, oh, like, for me, like, when I watch horror films, there's like the gradual thing to watching a horror film, and then they start playing the jump scare music, and the jump scare comes, and you're still scared. Like, as in, it's so funny. Like, that's how horror sneak up on me. Every time I watch them, it's like I end up still like, obviously getting, like, being part of the jump scares, because I think for people, sometimes I've seen people who watch horror so much, who it's like it's second nature to them, and it's like, even when the music starts accelerating and going up, 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 and, like, the jump scares come in, they just sit there and they're like, oh, okay. They're like, okay, it's a jump scare, nobody cares. But me, like, every time a jump scare happens, I'm just like, I'm like, I'm gonna cover my face. Like, it's funny, I cover my face all the time when I'm watching a horror, or half the time. It depends. If I really can't look at something, I won't look at it. But then it's funny, because I'm also a true crime watcher, and I said it's weird. It doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense, because it's like, true crime, sometimes I think to myself, is obviously, it's way more horrific than it's way more horrific than just watching a horror film. Because I think, oh yeah, I was talking about this with my cousin, actually. So we were saying that, like, obviously when you watch a horror film, it's like, it's not real, and it's like, when you watch a true crime, it's more horrific because the things in it actually did take place, and some of the stuff are like, what's the word, dramatized, or what's it called, exemplified for, like, the audience. But so then that's the difference just between, like, horror and true crime. True crime is real, horror films or not. And then, like, that's just another thing. Like, that's just another subject that we won't even get into right now. Because, I mean, I might do a podcast actually on the article I've been drafting, which was about about Ryan Murphy's Monster Show, but probably not yet though. But yeah, so what I was saying is that, that's what me and my cousin was saying, that we just think that obviously true crime is just obviously scary because it's real. And I'm saying to myself, why is it that I can stomach true crime rather than stomach horror? And it's like, I'll turn my eyes away for stuff that happens in horror, but I won't turn my eyes away at stuff that happens in true crime. And it's probably a question I have to ask myself, but maybe I'll find the answer, but we never know. To leave off, Uzumaki is very scary, and it's probably a great way to start off October in just like set the scene for the Halloween season, and to just get yourself in the mood, get yourself in the season, because that's the thing. I find myself obviously just wanting to watch like horror stuff, like obviously when it reaches October and you're like in this whole entire month you want to try and watch some horror films, and you want to like obviously watch new ones, not ones you've seen before. So Uzumaki set the pace.